Hey, welcome to the Carl Jackson Show, your daily dose of objective truth in a world of confusion and lies. I appreciate you guys tuning in earlier to listen to me on the Dennis Prager program. Got a lot of nice messages. Didn't get any bad ones that I've seen as of yet anyway. So anyway, I appreciate you guys tuning in. I want to recap some of the things that I talked about on his show, as well as some of the latest breaking news for this evening. But I do want to get back into, and I wanted to make sure that I had this out on the podcast, how the black church attendance, or the declining black church attendance, will impact the Democrat Party in this November's election. Will it affect them in such a huge way? I really don't know the answer. No, actually, I take that back. Yeah, I do think it will. I do think it will have a huge impact. I think it'll have an impact in this way, or a big impact in this way. And I've been saying this all along, but obviously Trump initially got in 2016, he got 8% of the black vote. In 2020, he was able to increase that percentage to 12% of the black vote. And there's no doubt in my mind, I've heard Byron Donalds say it recently anyway, Representative Byron Donalds say that some I believe it may be internal polling that he's seeing movement of upwards of 14 to 18%. And I think those numbers are about correct. I can imagine Trump getting 15%, maybe more. But again, what matters is exactly where he gets them. So I want to talk about that. And the declining black church attendance, and how that is going to impact the Democrat Party in this 2024 election. And also Representative Jamaal Bowman. I'm hoping that he loses his primary this evening. As of yet, the race has not been called. That is, we're on a race watch, if you will, for him. And again, it is June 25th, 2024. And we're waiting to find out if he's going to lose his primary. And I hope to God that he does. I'd love to see a crack in the squad. I think they are an absolute and utter disgrace you can't take those people seriously. I mean, you look at, I don't know what AOC was doing on stage at that rally in the Bronx for Jamaal Bowman. And then I don't know what he was doing on stage. He was talking about he's the rappers representative or something, hip hop representative, or I'm like, what does that have to do? I mean, just total and utter nonsense. This guy should not be, he should not be in Congress. He's blaming Jews for it and everything else. But I'm hoping we need to see a crack. And there's something that's happening. There's a shift that is happening in the Democrat Party. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like we're going to win by a landslide. I don't want people to say that. I think we're going to have to work hard in order to win 2024. I don't think we can rest or sleep or get lazy this election cycle. I don't think we can take anything for granted. As a matter of fact, even after Dennis Prager's show today, I found out about a couple of races that are local races that I have some people, friends, if you will, running in those races that are very conservative. And I'll be honest with you, one of them I didn't even realize was running, but I'm going to at least donate to that. You know what I'm saying? And it doesn't have to be much, but I want to make sure that I do my part, not just on a national level, but on a local level to try to get out the word, to try to help candidates win to the best of my abilities. So those are some of the things that we're going to be talking about. I'll bring you some of the latest news. Obviously, the debate is still big news because that's going to be happening in just a couple of days. I will be there with the Salem News Channel broadcasting with Andrew Wilkow. Looking forward to that for pre-debate and post-debate coverage on the Salem News Channel. So make sure you cover that or check that out. Now, here's the thing. I found out, and I'm trying to find that. I haven't even read the news yet, so I'm searching for it. But apparently, we're not going to be able to broadcast the debate live. Apparently, you have to pay a licensing fee or something like that, or CNN, I'm not exactly sure, is not offering it. So we're going to have to watch CNN to check out the debate, apparently, and then offer our post-debate analysis. Maybe I'll just listen to it on radio if there's some way I can listen on radio. I prefer not to give CNN any of the ratings, and I think they need it for ratings, trying to crowd out the conservatives. It's absolutely insane to me. All right, but let's talk about this, the declining black church attendance. and what it means for the Democrat Party in 2024. Also, Jamaal Bowman race. I'm going to give you some of the specifics into that and how there's some intra-party fighting in the Democrat Party that nobody wants to talk about. And I think that's a big deal. And also, the Biden bribery schemes, paying off student loans. He took a big hit on that today. So I want to talk about that in this podcast as well. And so I'm just looking through my cut sheet, make sure there's nothing that I need to bring up right away. Oh man, we'll bring up fake Jake Tapper as he's being called right now. I mean, this debate is going to be I'm not sure. I really like what the Trump campaign is doing. Putting the pressure on, and you see conservative outlets kind of putting the pressure on, so much so on Jake Tapper and Dana Bash, to be fair and balanced, calling them out for not being. I mean, some of the stuff that they've said in the past is just absolutely horrendous if they consider themselves journalists. If you're an opinion person like me, it's one thing, but to claim you're a journalist and call Trump a Nazi or Nazi-esque is a totally different thing. So anyway, we'll get into that in just a sec. Today's show is brought to you in part by MyPillow.com, Mike Lindell at MyPillow.com. Guys, listen, this is an American company, American products. This guy has hundreds of employees now, or lots of employees. I believe he does have hundreds of employees, but they also have hundreds of products. So American-made products, American manufacturing. So I really appreciate this company. And right now they have a $25 extravaganza. You can take advantage of that deal by going to mypillow.com and using my promo code, and it's my name, CARL, or give them a call at 800-858-0263. I was just on the website last night, and even some of the products that said $25 are cheaper than $25 when I put in my promo code. So you may want to search that website, all right, mypillow.com, promo code Carl, or give them a call, 800-858-0263, 800-858-0263. Later, I'll be talking to you as well about some of the lies in the Biden administration, the lies that they've been telling about the economy. I want to get into some numbers with some great specificity when it comes to the housing market and some of the things and the jobs report that they've totally been lying about, and then they'll correct at the end of the month so nobody goes to jail. But I'm going to give you some numbers that are going to make you take pause. I got to be real with you. All right. So anyway, stay tuned for that. But again, don't forget mypillow.com, promo code Carl. Take advantage of this extravaganza. Sandals, they got 6-pack towel sets, brand new pack of dish towels are only $25. If you go over $75, you receive free shipping as well. So mypillow.com, promo code Carl. All right. So this black church attendance thing, I think, is very fascinating. And I think it ties in even to this Jamaal Bowman, Representative Jamaal Bowman's race and this student loan thing. I think all of these tie in to a certain extent. And I just want to break this down because I do want to give us hope. But at the same token, I want to be real. You can't sit here and pretend like we're going to have a red wave. I don't want to say red wave and landslide like we said in 2022, and it doesn't come to fruition. And the truth of the matter is, even in 2022, I believe that we could have won. We just didn't have the get out the vote effort. And I'm not sure that we have everything that we need to have in place for 2024. So what it means is you and I are just going to have to show up. We're going to have to show up en masse, show up enthusiastically, and show up early, and then try to convince other people to show up at the ballot box. That's what black churches used to do. That's what they were good for with the Democrat Party. So here it is. This from Zero Hedge. Declining black church attendance weakens key Democratic asset. So this is more bad news for Joe Biden. Obviously, the polling hasn't been great for him. That's been one thing, but now Democratic strategists are facing another reality, and that's thanks to the falling attendance that that black churches are having. So the potency of the black church when it comes to propping up the Democrat Party, there's an issue there. There's a problem there. 92% of black voters in 2020 backed Biden, but right now only 42% of blacks in the swing states plan to vote for Biden. And again, we are a long ways out from the election. So I don't want to get over enthusiastic about these numbers, but these numbers are what they are. It's why the Democrat Party is panicking. But remember, the Democrat Party has a machine. And that's why I'm saying just because you hear these numbers doesn't mean you can stay home. You can't. Our founding fathers had to fight for liberty with, bullets and all that kind of stuff. We don't have to do that. We just need to show up. We need to show up. We need to volunteer where we can. We need to donate to campaigns where we can. So that's all we need to do. We just need to make sure that we do it and don't get lazy about it. But that is huge. 92% of black voters. Think about that. In 2020 backed Biden, but only 42% of blacks in the swing states. Now that's in the swing states, and that's where it's going to count. That's why when people are saying, oh man, Trump is going to get, 20 something or 30, or I've heard people say 40% of the black vote. I'm like, dude, you're smoking crack. Now, I hope that's true. Maybe it will be true. I hope that I'm wrong. Frankly, I hope that I'm wrong. I just don't think that's the case. But just as important is the fact that a lot of black voters may not show up for Joe Biden. And you need to consider that too. And that's good news. That is good news. So if you have 42% of blacks in the swing states that are planning to vote for Biden, that's really bad news for Biden, because that's kind of voter attrition, right? It's just when people don't show up, it's kind of a check mark, kind of a win or a victory for the Republican Party. It's a win for Trump. And on top of that, you had RFK Jr. in that Iowa poll last week that was released, a very accurate poll. The most accurate pollster in Iowa that showed that RFK Jr. was polling at about 9%. I'm sorry, or right over 9%, and seemingly taking away mostly from Joe Biden. That's going to be a huge deal. That's going to be a big deal. That will impact the Democrat Party. All right, so it says in one of the largest, most sudden demographic political shifts you'll witness in your lifetime, a recent New York Times CNN poll, which I don't necessarily always trust, but but it is what it is at this point. Again, we're a long ways out. Found that only 42% of blacks in 6 key battleground states plan to vote for Biden in November. That's scary town. That's why the left will want to get rid of Biden, but I think they may have waited too long. And by the way, he kind of owns the delegates. They have a weird system in the Democrat Party where it has to be Joe Biden that voluntarily gives up his delegates and tells his delegates where they're going to go. Hey, I'm giving up my delegates to Kamala Harris. I'm giving up my delegates to Gavin Newsom, who's been a complete and utter disaster for California. So I thought that might be the route that they would go. But man, the more you hear about his record and how he's bankrupting California to go from like a $95 billion surplus to a $90 or $45 billion deficit in the span of just a year is absolutely insane. But getting back to this, so those numbers are daunting, obviously, for the Joe Biden and the Democrats, and that's why they're bringing in part illegal immigrants. For one, they believe it's moral. They don't believe in borders, but also obviously they want a democratic shift. It's the replacement theory. We even had a congressman in New York. You guys might remember this. I forget her name. Her name escapes me right now, but admitted Jerry Nadler, Representative Jerry Nadler in New York, did the exact same thing, right? So this is where we are. So what brought on this decline in black church attendance, and why is it important? I'll get to it in just a second, but let me share this. So it says in the past, black churches they've been basically a voter turnout machine for the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party has been largely able to count on the black church to turn out the black vote for them. And I think it's absolutely insane. Frankly, I don't even think there should be a black church, a white church, a Latino church, an Asian church. I can understand why you'd have it when it comes to evangelical Christian churches. I can understand why you might have a Latino or an Asian church if you don't speak the language, but you should learn to speak the language, in my opinion, since you are in America. And then once you do, I don't think that the church should be divided. If you want the rest of America to be united, you should see it in the church. The church should be the leading example when it comes to that. Otherwise, it proves to me that you're just sharing the gospel with people that you're comfortable with, that just look like you. And that's not the way that it's supposed to be. So anyway, one of the downfalls of the COVID lockdowns, there's a silver lining apparently in everything. And one of the downfalls of the COVID lockdown was the fact that, sadly, when it came to the black church, many black people stopped attending church regularly. And as a result, the Democrats weren't able to do their get out the vote efforts with the black church. So it's absolutely insane. So black church attendance on the decline could mean and will mean, in my opinion, trouble for the Democrats Party. Will they be able to make that up with progressives, with illegal immigrants, they're certainly going to try. And again, it was the COVID lockdowns that caused this. So we were upset because of the COVID lockdowns, and we should still be upset about what they did to us, and we should make sure that they get payback in this election cycle. And listen, I'm not letting Trump off the hook. I love Trump, but obviously he was duped. He had a great 3 years, except with the exception of his spending. But in the his last year, he allowed himself to be duped by fascist Fauci and Deborah Birx. It was a bad move, but I understood what he was doing with Operation Warp Speed. That was impressive, but unfortunately, that turned out to be not so great 2020 hindsight. But nonetheless, the way that he was working with federal government, some would call that fascism, but the way that the federal government was working with these private entities, but it was during a period of time where it was a worldwide pandemic. So it sounded great at the time because we wanted to get a hold of this thing. But unfortunately, Democrats, as they often do, they never let a crisis go to waste. And so they used that for their advantage, and they began to lock down the country wherever they could and enforce that. You saw Biden and the Democrats join it right here in Orlando, Florida. Our own mayor, Jerry Demings, did his best to, literally, I think a lot of businesses have closed in downtown Orlando and aren't coming back as a result of Jerry Demings. He had a task force where people will literally go and check on businesses. It was absolutely insane to make sure they were following all the protocols. And now we know that all of those protocols were totally made up. But the silver lining is in this, and I hate to say this, the COVID lockdowns stopped regular church attendance in the black church. Carl, how could you say that? Well, a lot of them are liberal, so I almost feel like that's a bonus, to be honest. I know that sounds harsh, but it's true. Here's what Story Hinckley at the Christian Science Monitor said. Overall, church membership has dropped precipitously in the U.S. since the last presidential cycle, as many churchgoers formed new habits during the pandemic and never made their way back to the pews. I believe it takes 21 days to make a new habit. I'm not sure. But the black church, if you can recall, basically they were a de facto tax advantage Democratic help or support system for the Democrat Party. They registered voters. They had they turned out voters for the Democrat Party. You guys might remember the term "souls to the polls." Well, anyway, souls to the polls derived right here in Florida. I obviously live in Florida, but it derived right here in Florida in the 90s. And basically, black churches would take their parishioners to vote, to register to vote or whatever right after services. That's how they rolled. Souls to the polls started right here. But now here's what you have. Unfortunately for Democrats, but fortunate for the rest of us, again, these numbers have declined precipitously. So in 2019, 61% of blacks attended church at least on a monthly basis. That number is down to 46%. All right. So, and some of the reasons why I believe that black churches aren't effective, all you have to do is, to me, if the church was effective, or black church specifically, I'm speaking of, more black families would be intact. You would have fewer abortions amongst black women. BLM wouldn't have been able to rise to the level of prominence in which they did. But sadly, they were able to. And I blame a lot of that on the black church for not standing up, for being black first, for putting your skin color first. When we go to heaven, there's not going to be any affirmative action in front of Jesus Christ. You're either going to know him or you're not. And that's a scary thought, and I can understand it. But your black skin ain't going to save you. You need to remember that. Let me give you an example of why this is so important, especially for Democrats. All right. So in the battleground state of Michigan, consider this. Hillary Clinton lost it by just 10,704 votes to Donald Trump in 2016. So here's a vivid illustration of that particular dynamic playing out. So consider this. In the 1980s, a church by the name of New Grace Missionary Baptist Church, in the 88% black Detroit, I'm reading from Zero Hedge, enclave of Highland Park, routinely had more than 1,000 members that would show up every Sunday to services. That attendance level is down to between 125 to a high of 175. Now, just recently, with weeks of promoting this rally for a voter registration event at this same church, it was called Lift Every Voice and Vote. All right, 36 people showed up. 3 dozen people showed up. To me, this explains why Democrats have been extremely heavy on the racist rhetoric, even more so. I mean, obviously, they always try to keep blacks mad and angry, but they have to do it more so now, whether it's on television cuts, whether it's via social media. Why? Because blacks are not attending the church. They can't rely on going from church to church to church to make sure the black vote turns out. There's no souls to the polls. That's been ineffective. You know what I mean? So that's why you see Maxine Waters and some of the Democrats on the left that are really turning out, this racist stuff, and it's getting more and more intense. Donald Trump is going to do this. Donald Trump is going to do that. It's absolutely insane. I'm going through some of these clips that I want to make sure that I play for you. I think there was one related here. I'm sorry, forgive me. Just give me a quick sec to go through this. What is this? Okay. Anyway, I'm just searching through these right now. I thought there was a clip that was relevant for this particular situation. But you know what? I guess we could. Okay. Yeah, actually, I'll play this. If we can get this one ready, clip number 15. This is Van Jones. I think this is somewhat related. I think this is really important. Actually, let's play it, because one of the things that I think a lot of people are getting tired of in the United States of America, at least those of us that are on the right and people that have just had enough, is the racism, calling out racism where it doesn't exist, telling us if you're part of the LGBTQ movement that not only do we have to accept what the lifestyle that you live, but we better celebrate it or else. The anti-Semitism. If you're a Christian and you're witnessing some of the stuff that's happening in the street, it's absolutely insane, where you see Jews being attacked on the streets of Los Angeles in some cases. I mean, this is absolute insanity. I never thought that I'd live to see the day where that would happen. And here we are, and I only believe, sadly, I believe that things are going to get worse. But having said this is what Van Jones had to say about this. And again, I believe all of this stuff ties in. Van Jones, whether you like him or not, he's a liberal. Actually, he's a leftist. He was a communist, if we're being real, when he was in the Obama administration that was working on climate change and green energy. And he admitted as much. If I recall correctly, there was something that I read of his, or something that was reported, how he recognized that going green was the way to usher in communism into the United States. But he's a really intelligent guy, regardless of how you feel about him. I think he's CNN's best commentator, at least one of their best commentators. So let's roll this, Gabe. This is Van Jones, and he's talking about Biden is losing support among Jewish voters. Yeah, don't say. Clip number 15.
At the same time, I think it's a little bit naive for some people to think that if Israel would suddenly just stop doing what it's doing, that rainbows and bunnies and sunshine would break out over the Middle East and it would all be fine. The hostages have to be returned. If you can call for a ceasefire on both sides. Hamas is still firing its rockets. They still have hostages kidnapped. So this is a complex issue. But here's what's not complicated. Politics can be complicated. Geopolitics can be really complicated. How you treat your neighbors, how you treat people in your community is not complicated. You don't run up. I haven't seen any Jewish people running up on mosques with Israeli flags. If they did that, I'd be denouncing that too. There are certain things you don't do. It is a red line. If you want to be a part of a protest and they say, we're going to go to a Jewish community center, we're going to go to a mosque, we're going to go to a Jewish restaurant, that's not a protest. That's a pogrom. That's an anti-Jewish, bigoted act. If you want to be a part of a protest, let's go to a mosque. Let's go and harass the Muslims. That's not a protest. So we've got to get clear in our country what is a fair protest about policy, you can agree or disagree, and what's going after people, human beings, terrifying moms, grandmas, children who are trying to be a part of a neighborhood. The Jewish neighborhoods in LA are well known. Nobody is confused where they are. So if you show up there wearing a keffiyeh, you show up there with your face covered, you show up there chanting river to the sea, that would be just like a white person running up with a Confederate flag in Harlem. You're not trying to start a conversation, you're trying to start a fight. Stop doing that. Don't do that. We don't want more violence. We don't want more fear. We don't want more terrified people. We've got to be able to come together as a country. If either side had an easy answer, it had been solved. I'm less concerned about the politicians now. I'm concerned about the people in my community in Los Angeles moving in a direction that is more and more dangerous, more and more scary, more and more destructive. The Jewish community does not need to have people doing those types of things. It's not helping anybody in Palestine, but it's making America a much less safe place for everybody.
Okay, I'm almost speechless. That's Van Jones. Van Jones, I mean, again, he's a liberal, but he is their, in my opinion, he's their best analyst on CNN, or if not their best, definitely one of the best analysts. I don't even know who would qualify as another, to be frank with you. But this is a guy that's seemingly just talking common sense. Now, is he talking this way just for political expediency? Is he looking at the polls in the swing states just like you and I? Is he looking at the polls and seeing that, Jews are starting to come to the realization, at least some of them? I heard on, I believe it was Hugh Hewitt's show this morning briefly. I believe it was Bethany Mandel that said she could imagine that Jews, jumping up to 10%, a 10% voting. You're thinking, God, I mean, everything that's going on. Yeah, I mean, these people, a lot of Jews are secular, frankly, but a lot of Jews buy into a lot of the left wing teaching, and they look at it as compassionate and all that kind of stuff, and they just want to get along. But nonetheless, that's a shift. That's a shift. And you have votes that go the wrong way for Democrats in the wrong places, then that could flip seats. That could mean congressional seats. That could impact local elections. We shouldn't always think nationally. When it comes to the black vote, one of the reasons why Democrats are so concerned is, I mean, just think about the races in New York. Let's talk about Representative Jamaal Bowman. I was reading a column. I believe it was on. I want to make sure that I give them their fair due here. Let me make sure. It was on NBC News, and it talks about, the name of it is A Squad Member on the Ropes and a New Test for Lauren Boebert, what to watch in Tuesday's primaries. And again, let me just check and refresh my laptop, because it's literally 10 p.m. right now while we're podcasting here, and there could be some fresh news about this particular race. But going back to Representative Jamaal Bowman, he has a primary challenger, a guy by the name of George Latimer, who is a staunch Israeli Israeli backer, supporter, if you will. And he's in, I believe it's Westchester County. I'm not familiar with New York, so forgive me. But I want to say, yeah, it's Westchester County. He's the Westchester County executive. It's actually the area where the Clintons live, or at least Hillary Clinton lives. I'm assuming Hillary and Bill have property there. But in this particular primary, just so that you understand, there is an intra-party fight that's going on with the Democrat Party, and it's being played out. It's being played out in this particular race. This is going to be the most expensive ad-buy race, congressional ad-buy race, BUY, that perhaps we've ever seen. Right now, $14.8 million has been spent on this particular race as far as ad buys are concerned. And this is Representative Jamaal Bowman, who you saw acting a fool with AOC on the stage over the weekend. We played some video for you, cussing up a storm, slamming the thing, talking about he's a hip hop congressman and all this kind of nonsense. I mean, just absolutely insane. But this guy may lose. He may lose his race. I pray to God that he does lose his race, because I really would love to see the squad start going bye-bye. So that is my hope. I'm trying to see if I can see anything on the race popping up on Real Clear Politics with some. I don't see anything right now. Okay, but anyway, so you have this guy, George Latimer, who again is the executive committee chairman, or on the Westchester County. He's the executive Westchester County executive, and this guy has been a long-time local politician. He's a Democrat, but he's a pro-Israel Democrat. He's sensible. Apparently, he's a centrist, or so they say. I don't know what that means necessarily anymore. So you had Jamaal Bowman blaming AIPAC, which is a pro-Israel group. Coming after him, coming after his family, which make no sense whatsoever. All they're trying to do is make sure that he loses the race, and I hope that he sincerely does. But it's been astonishing. You've literally had Hillary Clinton endorse George Latimer over Jamaal Bowman. You've also had a person on the Black Freedom Caucus, and a lot of people got really upset about it. A guy named, I believe his name is Mondaire Jones, if I recall correctly. Yeah, Representative Mondaire Jones. And it looks like he's going to be winning his primary, and he's going to go on to battle out a Republican GOP representative, Mike Lawler, who's a freshman in a different district. So the squad were upset with him, the progressives in the party, but he's decided to jump ship and not back Bowman, but back Latimer. This is what's happening, and a lot of this has to do with the intra-party struggle with the anti-Semitic Democrats, right? Compared to centrist Democrats that say, listen, like Van Jones said, man, this is a human issue too. This isn't just politics. This is a human issue. I don't want to go down the street and see my neighbor is getting beat up just for what they believe or what they look like or what have you. It's absolutely insane, and he's absolutely right about it. So that was really astonishing to hear, and I think all this stuff is playing a part, man. These black churches, they've been kissing the butt of the Democrat Party for a long time, and honestly, you better be careful, because you have a lot of illegals coming into the country, and it is the goal of the Democrat Party is for you to be replaced. You're thinking of people groups. The Democrats just want a perpetual underclass. They want to make sure that they solidify, and I'm talking about leadership. I'm not talking about laymen. They just want to make sure that they solidify their power base forever and ever and ever, and they think they're doing a good thing. They think that's a good thing. Bring in people, work slave labor, basically, so on, etc. Hey, before I go any further, I just want to remind you too. You don't have to make sure that you don't have to be bound to slave labor. I want to talk to you about priority gold real quick. Economists are warning, and I'll talk about this shortly here, that massive tax hikes could devastate your IRA and your 401k account as the stock market braces for impact. With inflation on the rise and global uncertainty looming, it's clear why central banks and savvy Americans like yourself are turning to gold. In times like this, Proverbs 21:20 teaches us to preserve what we've built. That's what gold does. So right now, that wisdom points us towards gold. If you haven't had your eye on gold, you can make it a priority. You guys know me. I'm Carl Jackson, and I'm urging you to call my friends at Priority Gold to find out how they can help you diversify your savings with physical gold and silver. Call 1-800-405-GOLD or visit prioritygold.com/golden. All right, for a free gold info guide, plus see if you qualify for free shipping and storage. Act now to get your portfolio working for you while the market is golden. Call 1-800-405-GOLD to speak with a gold specialist, or visit prioritygold.com/golden. prioritygold.com/golden. prioritygold.com/golden to learn more, or call 800-405-GOLD. 800-405-GOLD. All right, so just real quick, so we had Jamaal Bowman. These are I'm talking to you about these. You're seeing the crack, right? You're seeing the crack in this. Democrats like to pretend like they're always together, but they have just as many problems as we do. So you have this intra-party fighting between now these progressives. Oh, I think this is another point. Remember, it was Hillary Clinton that came out and endorsed Representative Jamaal Bowman being on the squad, right? Part of that crew. He's the one that pulled the fire lever or whatever. So you had Hillary Clinton back his opponent, and you had Bernie Sanders endorse him. So you see what's happening there. Bernie Sanders versus Hillary Clinton. You got the far left wing, the progressive wing, and you got Hillary, who's a progressive herself, in my opinion, but apparently a more moderate progressive than Bernie Sanders is. So it's absolutely astonishing. Also, I didn't talk about this earlier, but Julian Assange has essentially gotten a sweetheart deal from the Biden administration. So he's essentially free now. He's going to be able to go back to Australia and time served, basically. So that's the story with Julian Assange. If more comes to be, I'll talk about that. All right, now this student loan thing, I think this is fascinating too, because what you're starting to see are the walls cave in on Joe Biden. But again, Democrats have a machine. So we still can't rest on our laurels, because you remember Biden had a get out the vote, or his administration a get out the vote effort within all of these federal agencies. So they could be registering voters at the DMV for all we know. But let me see here. Oh, by the way, Lauren Boebert appears as though she's going to win. She's going to win her race, or win the primary race, and go on to run. So it looks like she's going to be able to do that. I wanted to talk about, where is it? Federal judges halt most of Biden's student loan forgiveness plan. Now, I think this is really important. So again, here's what you're seeing. This is not good news for the Biden administration. Lower black church attendance means fewer black churches are participating in souls to the polls, if you will, registering voters, getting voters to turn out in the black community, because black people aren't going to church as much as a result of the Democratic COVID lockdowns. So that's absolutely fascinating to me. It's almost poetic justice. And then you have this issue, this Jamaal Bowman race, which essentially is intra-party fighting, those that are anti-Semitic in the Democrat Party, and those that are not, those that are pro-Israel. So you're seeing that. And quite frankly, I wonder if people like George Latimer, the Hillary Clintons, even, I'm not sure about Van Jones. I'm not sure where he would stay on that race. But I think the squad has absolutely done damage to the Democrat Party. I mean, what you saw over the weekend with AOC, what you saw with Jamaal Bowman, those are absolute clowns. All I could imagine is Vladimir Putin looking at these guys, Xi Jinping looking at them, and just thinking, wow, man, do we have America. Man, do we have America. All right, but now this too. This is really bad news for Biden. And remember, this is right on the heels of the debate. So hat tip ABC News: Missouri, Kansas judges temporarily halt much of President Biden's student debt forgiveness plan. So federal judges in Kansas and Missouri have together blocked much of a Biden administration student loan repayment plan that provides a faster path to cancellation and lower monthly payments for millions of borrowers. So in Topeka, Kansas is where it took place. Federal judges in Kansas and Missouri on Monday together blocked much of Biden administration student loan repayment plan that provides a faster path to cancellation and lower monthly payments for millions of borrowers. The judges' rulings prevent the U.S. Department of Education from helping many of the intended borrowers. And that's the thing, to ease their loan repayment burdens going forward under a rule that's set to go into effect July 1. The decisions do not cancel assistance already provided to borrowers. All right. So in Kansas, U.S. District Judge Daniel Crabtree ruled in a lawsuit filed by the state's Attorney General Chris Kobach on behalf of his state and 10 others. In his ruling, Crabtree allowed parts of the program that allows students who borrowed $12,000 or less to have the rest of their loans forgiven if they make 10 years worth of payments instead of the standard 25. If you're still paying off 10 to 12 grand 10 years later, yeah, there's a problem. I'm sorry. There's a problem there. Get another job. There's no way you should carry $12,000 worth of debt over 10 years. That's absolutely insane. All right. But anyway, but this is another chip in the armor, if you will. Biden can't take this. He can't handle this. Right. There he is trying to bribe voters. And essentially it's gone. That bribe is gone right before the debate, right before an election. So maybe you'll see more youthful voters turn on Joe Biden. And why wouldn't they? So now they're going to be burdened by even more debt on top of the inflation that Joe Biden caused. Now, speaking of debt and protecting your wealth, at the very heart of our democracy lies a principle that we hold sacred. By the way, I'm talking about wealth protection research, and that is free speech. It's the cornerstone that supports every freedom that we cherish. Yet, in today's digital age, discussions about our wealth, our rights, and our future are being silenced or overshadowed in mainstream narratives, leaving many feeling voiceless in conversations that are crucial to our financial independence and our security. This is where Wealth Protection Research steps in. They're armed with a mission that's never been more critical. Wealth Protection Research is not a financial advisory firm. They are defenders of free speech. They're committed to giving a voice to the silence. Wealth Protection Research tirelessly seeks out financial experts. These are the voices that challenge prevailing narratives, especially as we navigate the uncertainties of the 2024 election. Wealth Protection Research has created a 2024 election wealth protection report. This free report highlights the 3 best ideas for protecting and growing your money heading into the 2024 election. It contains ideas the mainstream media won't touch, and listeners can get it completely free. All you have to do is text the word ideas to 76626 to claim your free copy. Again, if you believe in the sanctity of free speech and the importance of financial freedom, act now. Text the word ideas to 76626. Claim your free copy of this 2024 election protection report. It's time to widen the scope of what we're told, to hear the ideas the establishment does not think you can handle, and to take control of your financial destinies. Text the word ideas to 76626 to claim your free copy. Plus, if you text the word ideas today, you'll get a free gold investment kit from Wealth Protection Research, sponsored by Augusta Precious Metals. All right, so bad news for Biden. He's got that's a serious blow right before the debate. And obviously the debate being big news. I said earlier today on Dennis Prager's show, Trump has to talk policy, but I think he needs to speak to the people. I think he needs to speak to the undecided people. I think he needs to be firm when it comes to Joe Biden, talking about policy, comparing and contrasting. But I think what people are looking for Trump, and this isn't obviously the most ardent Trump supporters don't feel this way. He doesn't have to get them. He doesn't have to get people like me that are already like, hey, man, we love Trump. I love his backbone, but here's what we got to do. He made some mistakes in his first go round. Hopefully he'll do better. Lord willing, he gets in the second go around, and I believe he will. But we're going to have to hold his feet to the fire because I think that sometimes Trump wants to be liked, and I can understand that. Especially if you're going through what you're going through, you want to prove to the world what he's endured, that he's not this big evil person. And I think he'll have an opportunity to do that on the stage this Thursday. And this thing is all set up. There's no doubt about it, man. This debate is set up. We all know Dana Bash, Jake Tapper. I can read you some of the quotes. I know that you've heard them, but they compared his last performance to, just something. Just basically Trump was Nazi-esque. As a matter of fact, let me just read their quotes real quick. I didn't want to go there, but here's what they said on election night in 2020. Here's what Tapper stated last December. So just this past December, he says the dehumanizing rhetoric of Adolf Hitler is once again alive and well on the national political stage. This time, of course, in the United States. He also said that same month in December, Trump a couple of times over the weekend referred to immigrants from South America, Africa, and Asia. He did not mention Europe, South America, Africa, and Asia as he did not mention Europe, South America, Africa, and Asia as poisoning the blood of our country. Which, if it's not hyperbole, that does very directly echo Adolf Hitler's language before World War II, before the Holocaust. I mean, this guy's a joke. All right, there's no doubt about it. But I appreciate the fact that I believe her name is Caroline Leavitt, his spokesperson, and the Trump administration are putting pressure on Jake Tapper because there's no doubt that the debate won't be fair. But here's what Trump needs to do. He just needs to be a gentleman. It's not just about policy. It's about decency. I think people that are feeling pain, the financial pain, they're tired of the crime. They're tired of the illegal immigration. 12-year-old Jocelyn Nungary. We got news that emerged today. Yesterday. I'm sorry. It was just brutal. The girl was just being basically tortured and sexually assaulted for a couple hours. A 12-year-old little girl by these illegal immigrants. And then Rachel Moran, the mother of 5 that was jogging, was apparently beat savagely before she was sexually assaulted. So that news, and strangled before she was even sexually assaulted. So that news emerged. What Trump has to do, and what you're going to have to do for those of you that are supporting Trump, they may not buy into the Trump brand or the Trump name, but you take them to, you mentioned those cases like Man, now I'm forgetting her name. Forgive me. Like Rachel Moran, like Lakin Riley, like Jocelyn Nungary. You mentioned those cases, and you say, you know what? When we had a sealed border, we didn't see this, especially not so frequently. So this is why I'm voting for Trump. If they can't stand Trump, bring up the issue and then take them back to Trump. All right, that's what you do. That's how we roll. That's how we win. You got to make the connection that way, and Trump has got to do the same. He's got to talk about policy. He's got to be decent. I'm telling you, people. I think more people want to vote for him, but it's got to be for him. Decency is going to be just as important as policy. And we know the left are going to try to trip him up. When I say the left, I mean Jake Tapper and Dana Bash. But he can win it anyway. Guys, listen, I appreciate you tuning in to this edition of the Carl Jackson Show podcast. Please don't forget to subscribe to the podcast wherever you go to get your podcast. If you're on Rumble, if you're on YouTube, make sure you like us, make sure you share, make sure you subscribe. We would certainly appreciate that. Don't forget our t-shirts, carljacksonmerch.itemorder.com. I don't think they're all up yet. We've got a couple more that we had made, but I don't believe they'll be up on the site for the next day or two. So hopefully by the debate, they'll be ready. And for Independence Day, so you can rock them. I'll be rocking them as well. You'll be seeing me rock them more here. So anyway, that is that, guys. I appreciate you tuning in. Until next time, don't grow weary doing good. God bless you.